So ladies and gentlemen, 3 months ago, I decided to start a brand new Amazon FBA store. And now I thought that I would do a generic clickbait video telling you about my experience and then selling you my course at the end of this video. I'm kidding, but spoiler alert, it is going pretty well. And in today's video, I want to go over some of the things that I've learned along my journey and things that I wish I knew before I started Amazon, things that would have saved me money and just overall help prepare me better. And if you're new to Amazon or you're thinking about getting into Amazon, I would definitely recommend taking out a piece of paper, take some notes, because these things are going to help you succeed at Amazon and you can save money by avoiding the mistakes that I made. Now, going back to the very beginning, this is not my first time doing Amazon FBA. I recently just built and sold my last Amazon FBA store for $300,000, and that took me about 2 years to build, but I sold that business and now I'm starting from complete scratch again. And obviously this time around, it's going a lot smoother. So 3 months in right now, I am at sitting around $9,000 revenue a month. And that's just with one product. I do have 3 more products that are going to be launched in the next month. So if you'd like to follow along, just make sure you hit the subscribe button. So starting with the first lesson, and I'm sorry guys, this is going to sound super cliche, but I have to say it because it's so important. And that is, you need to be patient. We live in a world right now where everybody just wants instant gratification. They want results the next day. They want to go to the gym today and get 6-pack tomorrow. They want to start their Amazon store today and make $100,000 tomorrow. And unfortunately, that's just not the reality of how everything works. I know a lot of the videos that everybody watches with these Amazon gurus, everybody's saying that, oh, it takes 5 minutes to find $1 million product, blah, blah, blah. Guys, this is just BS. You shouldn't expect anything to be easy. If anything, you should want it to be difficult because you're going to learn a lot more throughout the process, and it builds character, right? The ups and downs of business. If it was just smooth sailing the whole way up, you wouldn't really appreciate the success at the top. So it takes the hard work at the bottom and the ups and downs and the learning and the mistakes that you made that you really come out of it better on the other side. And when it comes to patience, a lot of people will try to look at what other people are doing and see, oh, this person's making this much amount of money, etc., etc. And I can say this from personal experience, everybody's Amazon journey is going to be different. Some people might start making really good money in the first month, and for some people, I've seen it take up to a year or 2 years to really start making decent profit. And don't let that bring you down, guys. You should just want to consistently put work into your business, and don't ever doubt yourself that, Amazon's not for you or it's not going to work, because it clearly does. I've done it. I know a lot of other people have become super successful at it. There's people every day that are successful at Amazon. So it does work. It just sometimes takes certain people longer than others. So if that's you, if you're in that situation where you're starting your business and you're not making profit right away, don't let that bring you down. Just keep your head down and keep consistent. And on top of that as well, I would highly recommend setting realistic goals. Another negative thing that I see some people do that brings them down is they come into the business with very high expectations where they think, like I said, they're going to make 100 grand in their first month, which is just right off the bat not that realistic. But for some people it's possible. Like if you have the right budget, you can make it happen. But most people are starting with a very small budget, so for them to make 100,000, if they really knew what they were talking about, they would realize that's very unrealistic. But I digress. When you're starting Amazon, set realistic expectations. So rather than trying to think you're going to make 100,000 your first month, focus on just making $1,000, right? Because that's also very good. You got to enjoy the small wins along the way. And I remember when I started Amazon, I was so excited just to make that first sale. I was so excited to make $1,000 and then $5,000, and then you just keep climbing off these small wins. Rather, if from the get-go you're hoping to make 100,000 and you're only making 1,000, you might feel kind of let down and maybe you might give up. So don't let that be you, guys. Try to set realistic goals. Now, getting on to the next step, and that is, people underestimate how many additional costs there are with Amazon FBA. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people just think that they buy their product from China, they pay for that, and then they pay for the shipping to the Amazon warehouse, throw it up on Amazon, and then they're off to the races. But they forget about all the marketing costs, right? So you need to remember that you need to have very good photos to sell on Amazon, and those aren't cheap. So you need to hire a photographer. For example, with the product that I just launched, I had to pay for the photographer. I needed models, so I had to pay for the models. I actually needed an apartment to shoot at, so I had to rent an apartment. There are sometimes you got to pay for props, and then once all the photos are done, you have to send them to somebody else who can edit them or do sort of infographics on it. So it ends up adding up quite a bit. I would recommend a budget of at least $1,000 for marketing. And with that being said, it could be less, or it could be more, really depending on your product and what the needs are for the product shoot. I've spent anywhere from $500 all the way up to $2,000. So on top of that, you need to have money set aside for PPC, which is essentially sponsored ads. When you first launch your product on Amazon, your product's gonna be on the last page. You wanna get it up to the first page. And the most common way of doing that is paying for the sponsored ads that brings you up somewhere near the top so people can actually see your listing. And that's not cheap. So you do have to set aside a budget for that. I was unaware of this when I started, and it could be anywhere from $10 a day all the way up to $50 a day, really depending on your product. But once again, I would highly recommend setting a budget of at least $1,000 away for the first month. And that should be good enough to get your product to the top page. And then once it's up on the top page organically, people will start buying it. And then you can decide whether you still want to be paying for the sponsored ads or not. Now, going on to the last and final thing, you don't need to buy that much inventory. So when I first started 3 years ago, I ended up taking this course, which is a very popular course. It's like $6,000. And essentially they were telling me to buy 3 months worth of inventory. And what that means is, for example, if your product is selling an average of 500 units a month, you should buy 1,500 units. And I just found that to be very bad advice, because especially for beginners out there, in order to buy 3 months worth of inventory, that is a large investment. Depending on the product, of course, but with most products, you're buying 3 months worth of inventory. What ends up happening if you pick a bad product and they don't sell? That's what happened to me with my first product. I spent $13,000 on inventory, and after the first month, I realized these things aren't selling. I was able to spend quite a bit of money on PPC and eventually sell through all the units over the course of 6 to 8 months. But ever since that first product, I've only ever bought anywhere from maybe 150 units to 500 units tops. And that's just to get a sample, to test the market, to see if people like this product or people buying this product. And it also minimizes my risk, because now I'm not spending $10,000 to launch a product. I can get away with just spending maybe $3,000. And I tell all my friends or anybody that asks me about Amazon that's new, don't buy that much inventory, guys. You can get away with just buying a small test sample, learn the process, right? There's a lot to learn with the whole journey as well. You're gonna make mistakes. So I think it minimizes your risk to start the business with only spending a few $1,000s versus committing and buying 3 months worth of inventory when you don't really know what you're doing. I think that's a very important one. And it's one that people don't know, because like I said, most of these Amazon gurus are pushing that you should buy 3 months worth of inventory. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys took notes of those things. They're extremely important, and I know if you apply them, you will be able to be successful on Amazon, and you'll avoid making some costly mistakes like I did. And like I said earlier in the video, I just started this new Amazon store 3 months ago, and I've set a goal for myself to go from $0 to $50,000 in revenue within the next 12 months. So if you guys would like to watch that and follow along, just make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm gonna be posting videos every week. And if you'd like to set a challenge for yourself as well, which I think all of you should. It doesn't have to be the same as me. It could be just hitting 10,000 a month, or even just getting your first product launched on to Amazon. Send me a message on Instagram. It's going to be in the description below. Let me know what your challenge is, and I'll make sure to hold you accountable, and let's do it together, guys. Let's crush the rest of the year, and I'll see you guys on the next one.